Premed office hours. It is December 10th, 2025. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, founder of Medical School Headquarters, Mapped, author of the Premed Playbook series, host of the Premed Years podcast, and I don't know, something else that I want to include there, but I don't know what to say. So I'll stop there. Author, father, husband, yes, all of those good things. Joining me today, we have Courtney Dunford, formerly Lewis, former director of admissions at Burrell College of Osteopathic Medicine, prior vice chair elect at Comeo. That's how you say that, right? Comeo. I love that. How you doing, Courtney?
Mm-hmm. Good. Another day.
Another day.
Getting
another
close
dollar.
to Christmas. Excited.
Yep. Love it. Also joining us, Dr. Christine Crispin, former director of admissions at UC Irvine, former AdCom member at Keck Med of USC, former pre-health advisor at Chapman. You carry an impressive resume with you everywhere you go. Christine, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Also getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
We're on the countdown in my house now.
Love it. Hopefully those advent calendars are flowing and good stuff is coming out. Are there any airplane advent calendars?
I've not looked for one, but there is an airplane request. So he's on a mission for a 787.
Oh, like a model plane or a toy plane?
Like a model plane.
Okay.
Never a toy. They're way too expensive to be toys. But he's like, he tells me, I would really like a 787, but it might be a little pricey. I'm like, what does that mean?
All right.
Tell me exactly what that means to you. And apparently it's a few $100s. So
for a toy, not a toy.
For a 9-year-old. For a 9-year-old.
All right. Yeah.
We're flying to Chicago, so I think I will get him. I think we talked about they don't have a gift card at the one choice the airplane store he likes to go to. So I may take him there and let him pick out one, which is not really a new thing because every time we go to Chicago, he gets to do that.
Yeah.
But now we'll make it like a Christmas thing.
Yep. That'll be fun. Wonderful stuff. Yeah. So as we wait for some questions to start rolling in, people start waking up. It's December.
Crazy.
Courtney, should students expect any interview invites between now and the new year? Is anything happening?
Not a lot, I would say. I mean, there's probably, I know there's some schools that are going to be sending out some offers, most likely before the break. There may be a handful of schools that send out interview invites for next year. But it's going to start getting quieter and quieter over the next 5 days, 7 days, just because as soon as that final exam happens at the med school, faculty are out, students are out, faculty are out, winter break.
Yeah.
Am I cutting out?
Yeah.
You're a little
I'll
delayed.
try to fix it on my end, but
you're delayed. I'd go and reboot, do a reboot and come back.
Okay.
We have a wonderful thing. Thank you, Dr. Gray and staff. My daughter got accepted to UC Riverside. Thank you again for all of your guidance. We have new things in here. We have that's fantastic. Congrats. As we keep going here. Yeah, so things are moving along. We often get a lot of flack when we say if you haven't received an interview invite by Thanksgiving, it's time to start thinking about that next application cycle. That's not to say, right, the missing context we always kind of leave out is there's still a chance to get an interview invite.
100%.
Still come. And let's start
prepare
about reapplying And if you have gaps in your current application, if you're not filling those gaps, start today.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think Thanksgiving's a good benchmark to think what's going on and certainly assess where you are. Um, but I also would never want people to say it's the end of the road because it's not. It's not. I mean, I think we were doing mock interviews in March earlier this year in the last cycle. So I think if there's nothing that I've learned about being in this part of the world here is you never know until like the classes fully matriculate what's going to happen. It's easy to assess and make an assumption that yeah, it's slowing down, and I would argue that it is slowing down, but it's certainly not over.
Yeah, it is not over. The infamous is this PC still say, right? It's not over till the fat lady sings. Like is like
I mean, there's
I
some
don't know where
truth.
that comes from. It's just always a saying, right?
Yeah.
She has not been singing, so it's not
Mm-mm.
over yet. Hello, Michelle. Michelle's daughter's been working with our team. Is it common for schools with the MMI interview not to use the same approach, questions, rubric, etc. for all? Do they tailor the interviews based upon candidate background or secondary responses? No, they're
Yeah.
standardized. That's
That's the
part
whole
of the
purpose of the
goal of the MMI is to standardize it, remove any sort of bias and all that stuff.
But they will certainly look at the review of their application based on the
Yeah.
more personal stuff.
Yeah. So here's some more context there. Daughter and roommate had MMI at same school, 2 months apart, completely different questions. One more patient scenarios, ethical dilemmas, the other social determinants. All right. It could be that different interview days, they have different questions because the school may be concerned about the previous
Question
questions
security.
getting out and question security, or they're just trying new stuff, but it's not applicant dependent.
Right.
It's probably just day dependent. Hello, Courtney. Welcome back. See how it works. Hello.
Hi.
Still a little laggy.
We'll see. We've got we've got a lot of weather here right now. So we've got a huge storm rolling in to Washington. So it may be a little bit laggy. I'm checking.
All right.
We have weather too, all the way up to 80 today.
Oh, darn. Trevor says, if I'm trying to write my personal statement, how do you recommend I start to decide what to include in my story? What do you think? So I'm moving some
book.
trash out of the way. I gotta clean up my desk. I got a book here. Oh wait, that's the interview one. Darn it.
Don't look at the book.
I got too many books. This one, the Premed Playbook Guide to the Focus Medical School Personal Statement. Check that out. But it's a common question, right? We try not to. The language I use is like I try not to prescribe what your personal statement should be. I have a general idea of what it should be at the end, and we can end up a couple different ways. But what are your thoughts here?
So I've been telling my new cycle students this kind of thing because they all want to do something over the holiday break. And so I have been telling, start with the why. Like, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to be a doctor? And start thinking about the experiences that you feel have really contributed to that motivation. The early experience, the college experiences, and start making an outline of why. And I think that if you're going to include a story, whatever that story is from one of your experiences, there should be some sort of a reflection that tells me why. If you can't really tell me, if you're just telling me a story to tell me a story about something you did, that's maybe not where it doesn't go in the personal statement, it goes someplace else. So the story that you include needs to really kind of follow up with the reflection of why that has shaped your motivation to become a physician.
Yeah.
Start with why.
Start with why. Famous Simon Sinek TED Talk. Start with why. Yeah. It's huge, and it's interesting. I read a personal statement the other day that one of our advisors loved, and it was a very different personal statement. The student did fantastic with their application cycle. I personally didn't like it as a personal statement. Our advisor was like, I loved it. That's the fun thing about this is we don't know at the end of the day, did that personal statement help this student through the process? Did they do well despite the personal statement being a little bit different? Like, we don't know. And so at the end of the day, it's a personal statement. Here's a general idea of maybe what we think a personal statement should be. If you want to go in a different direction, great. And there's some potential risks there. And let's talk about that. And if you still want to go for it, go for it.
Right.
Yeah. All right. JDot, do you guys have any tips on navigating financial aid scholarship conversations? It seems more important now than ever with the changes to federal loans. I'd love any advice. Thank you all. Courtney, potentially something you might have some thoughts coming from the DO world, a little bit more expensive, typically more private schools. Any thoughts on these conversations that students can have with schools once accepted?
I may be laggy still, so cut me off if I am. But yes, there are a lot of schools that have really robust financial aid offices that you can talk to, and their job is essentially to help you figure out scholarships or funding or private loans and things like that. Sometimes with newer schools, it can be harder when they don't. It hates me today.
That's all right. Why don't we give you a break? Or you can turn your video off, see if that works, if that is better.
Okay, let's try this.
Yeah.
With any school, no. Okay.
No, it's working. It's working. Oh, she muted herself.
Okay. What a disaster. Can you hear me?
That's all
Yes.
right. All right. Well, we'll just we'll give Courtney a break today. Courtney, go relax. Or answer in text form. But yeah. Christine, thoughts on this?
I mean, I think Courtney was on the right track. There are, I think certain schools will have limitations to how much they can have, but schools with the financial aid office should be able to give you an idea of what is typical. I think it's hard to reconcile, like undergraduate, there's a ton of grants and various things that generally come a little easier. Med school is not quite like that. Some schools are well positioned to be able to offer scholarships and merit and various things like that, but many times it is going to be a bigger conversation about the variety of loans that would be available to you. I think some transparency on your part, say, you know, what is available and recognizing that this is going to factor into your decision as you finalize where you want to go is fair. But I just think you can ask them what your questions are. What are scholarships that would be available? What is the typical financial aid that students who come here get? And start there.
Yeah. With the federal loan changes, and for those watching who may not know what those changes are, right? The federal government said,
The
hey,
limitations.
we are capping federal loans for students going to medical school or professional school at $200,000. And I'm I think in the minority of like, yes, we need caps on loans because tuition has gotten out of hand, and mostly because the government has been writing blank checks forever. Not forever. There used to be caps. Maybe $200,000 isn't the right number, but I like the fact that we have a cap. I've talked to some schools, directors of admissions, deans of admissions at schools, and they're like, we're not talking about lowering tuition, which I don't think anyone magically thought schools were going to be like, okay, great, we'll cut our tuition in half. But they are looking at things of where they can pull more financial aid in from to help offset the cost. So I like that the conversation is started. Obviously, change is really hard and it's upsetting, and there are going to be students who need to juggle multiple loans now, one federal loan, one private loan. My hope is that banks will get creative with this process and figure out how to help medical students, because a medical student is a future doctor, and a future doctor is a high income earner, and banks like those people. So yeah.
I mean, I think people have to remember too, schools have, I mean, part of accreditation, at least for the LCME, is student loan indebtedness. I used to work at a high student loan indebtedness school, and that was always on the conversation table.
Yeah.
You know, you do try to, so I hope if nothing else, this pushes the schools to look at alternatives.
Yep. That's the hope. Yeah. Good questions. What is the best direct patient care hours to get? Christine, is there a best, or is there a best for the student? Like,
yeah, I would say
we get the question all the time, like EMT versus phlebotomy versus scribe versus MA.
Versus MA versus whatever. They all are good. I think it's going to be what works for your schedule, your time. How much do you want to invest in prior training? What jobs are available in the area that you live in?
Yep. Yeah.
You know,
what do you like to do?
What do you like to do? Yeah. What kind of a setting do you want to be in? What works with the hours that you have available to get these hours?
Yeah. Those are all the questions. Yeah, I've always talked about, like, I don't think I would have liked to be an EMT. I don't like showing up on scene as a first responder and like doing all that. I'm like, I don't know if I would like that adrenaline rush. I would rather like take it slow, big. So it depends on the personality and the student. Richard, we kind of just answered that with the Build Back Better, or Big Beautiful Bill, not Build Back Better. Big Beautiful Bill. The other 3B one.
I don't think it's going to affect admission. I think you're just going to have to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah, I think the bigger impact will be the fact that PAs, their loans got capped at what, 20,000?
Nurses and other public health, all those,
that would be, I think, the bigger is like, okay. And again, at the end of the day, students are gonna get private loans. And it's nothing new, right? New medical schools that aren't eligible for FAFSA to get federal loans, students are getting private loans to go to those schools already. So it's not a new thing. It's just, it's different. And I think there's a lot wrapped up with the person in charge at the moment. And
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I have lots of feelings there too, and
I have biases and things too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, best direct patient care hours for pre-PA. So the pre-PA world, right? We're more pre-med experts. We do run the PA platform as well. There's PCE hours and PHE, patient healthcare, and
the ones that are the ones that really count are obviously the direct patient care, and those are the ones where you are directly responsible for patient care. And I always used a list. I would Google this. I had this bookmarked at one point, where it would be very specific, because a lot of it's going to be school specific. Shocking. But in general, it's things where you have a direct responsibility for patients. And so what I would recommend is that you Google schools that you're interested in and see how they categorize it, to make sure you're not assuming, like, scribe for some schools counts, some schools it doesn't. Certain things work some ways or other ways. So I would definitely do a little more research before you, but a medical assistant, an EMT, a nurse, those are pretty common. Those are all direct patient care. Beyond that, I would Google what the school wants.
Yeah. At what point, once you get accepted, do you start the conversation about aid or scholarships and talk to the school? Yeah. When do those kind of letters come out to say we've decided to give you some merit scholarship, or the need scholarship is less, but
I feel like it's in the spring as they start really solidifying their class, unless there's somebody like a recruitment situation where they really want that person to come to their school. I feel like because right now I've been having like I've had a couple conversations about now is probably a good time to do your FAFSA.
Mhm.
You know, you're just starting to do the things you would need to have those conversations. So I feel like February, March is probably unless you like somebody offers you like I think a couple years ago I had somebody who got a 50% scholarship to a school pretty early out of the gate. And then, you know, you try to have these conversations to like, well, I got to, is there anything you can do? But I don't think they're at a place to even know if they've even started doing that. So
Mhm.
s- early next year is where I would jump into it.
Yeah. And it gets stressful. You're like, I have right with traffic rules, they need to make decisions kind of
Right.
starting March, April. And if they haven't received the financial aid packages and what their final numbers might look like, it gets very stressful.
I used to have a general rule of thumb for students that if you had an interview at a school and you have an acceptance from the school, it would be smart to go ahead and do the FAFSA for that school. So you've got to give them the information to give you the information. And if you haven't done a FAFSA and you haven't submitted information to the school, they don't have anything to work from either. So you have to do your part for them to do their part.
Yeah. Generally, the schools will say, okay, it's time for FAFSA, right?
Generally,
Yeah.
but if they're not on the ball, just do the FAFSA.
Okay. All right. McLopton just finished a postbacc. Used to work in North Carolina as an RN and want to return. Now I'm done with classes. Is it problematic to move this winter and apply in 26? How would that work for in-state bias for apps?
Um,
Only lived in North Carolina for about a year. Currently an out-of-state resident, so not sure what to do here. Used to
I don't,
work in North Carolina. If you used to work in North Carolina,
and you currently live there now?
they want to move back to North Carolina. Um, so they're not in North Carolina now because they did postbacc, but postbacc is education, so it
Right.
shouldn't be a residency establishing endeavor. So my question for you, McLopton, is: did you change your residency when you
When you
were
did your
doing your
postback.
postbacc? Because that makes it a little more problematic. And then when you go back to North Carolina, are you going back and working as an RN while you're applying? Um, I wouldn't see it as problematic. Just
If
go to the
nothing else, you're
state.
demonstrating your ties.
Yeah. What did the state law say in terms of residency? All right. Here's a interesting question. Hello, MSHQ team. Hope you're doing well. How can non-trads stay motivated in this long pre-med journey? Courses, patient care hours, applications, etc. Feels like I've been running on empty lately. Yeah, Christine, this is hard, and I think
This is
potentially maybe there's some seasonal stuff going on with seasonal affective disorder, maybe. Talk to
not
a therapist
here
first and foremost.
for sure.
Um, I, I'm gonna say something completely invalidating. I I understand right from the get-go this sounds completely invalidating. I think the energy is in the journey. And if you are struggling finding energy in your journey, you're either on the wrong journey or you're focused on the goal and not the journey. And therefore you're disappointed because you're not a doctor yet, right? You're
You're
not done
checking
yet.
your boxes. You're not paying
Yeah.
attention to the ride.
So I understand it's completely invalidating, but Christine, you've worked with a lot of students over the years. Where
Mhm.
where can students go and find some of that energy?
I think throughout the journey, and I talk about this a lot when I started talking to freshmen, and I talk about it along the way. I am a firm believer that your entire life does not need to be wrapped up in this journey. I think the journey is important. I think you should be energized and you should really want to do various things, but you also have to build in time to be brouillon. You have to step away. You have to schedule time with your friends and your family and go surfing, snowboarding, hiking, biking, whatever your thing is. You have to allow yourself time to do that. And when you are only focused on, I have to check off these boxes, there's so many things wrong with that picture, up to and including what Ryan just said, in terms of not paying attention to the journey, just paying attention to things you have to do. That's the first problem. The second problem is you do drain yourself because you don't allow yourself to be a person. You are a person, and believe it or not, med schools are okay with that.
Mm.
You know, one of the questions that are commonly asked in interviews that I asked when I did interviews is, what do you do for your wellness? How are you going to maintain that when you come to medical school? We have all seen too many bad things happen to people who have gone to medical school who have gotten burned out, that you need to have this practice now.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
good luck. Good luck.
yeah, step away. Just take a minute and take a break.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, if you're, oftentimes I'll talk to students who are like in the middle of their MCAT prep and they're like, I'm so burnt out. I'm like, when's the last time you shadowed? When's the last time you put yourself around
Yeah,
patients? And they're like, oh, I stopped all of that. I'm like, well, go do that so you can
yeah.
remind yourself
I
why
talked about
you're
that.
working hard on the MCAT. And if this student here is saying, hey, I'm doing the patient care hours, again, what is your mindset going in? Are you just there because you're like, oh, I have to do these hours for my application, versus I'm so excited I get to go interact with patients because, hey, guess what? I'm going to do this for my career. I want to
Right.
interact with patients, which again, it concerns me a little bit that there are these feelings now, and maybe those feelings are telling you this isn't the right path.
Yeah.
So keep exploring, keep figuring out what's going on there. All right. Miles said, change my residency during postbacc. If I move back to North Carolina, I would be working through the app process as an RN. Just don't want the bias against me as an out-of-state applicant if I move now. But my question is, if you move now, you're not applying until May, I'm assuming. What is the state law in North Carolina for establishing residency? I don't know. So check that out. And talk to the schools. Say, hey, I was a North Carolina resident. I did a postbacc. I'm back in North Carolina. See what they say too. Currently doing 26 credit postbacc with a decent upward trend. Freshman 2.6, sophomore 2.8, junior 3.4, senior 3.9, postbacc 4.0. Thank you for all of those details. I love it. Would I need to take a master's before applying, or can I try this year? So 3.4, 3.9, 4.0 with 26 credits in that postbacc. I say go for it.
I do too. I mean, obviously, there's a whole lot of other things that would go into should you apply now or not. But if it's just, do I take a master's degree or not? I, I, c- I can't see why you would either. I mean, I assume 26 units out of 4.0 is going to overshadow what potentially is a slightly lower undergrad GPA, but you only had your first 2 years are lower, then you got up. So I would imagine your cumulative numbers are above a 3.0. They're not, they're pretty solid. So I say go for it too.
Yeah.
Assuming everything else is in line.
Yeah, that's not talking about obviously MCAT, the other big stat one, but then clinical experience and shadowing and non-clinical community
Assuming
service.
all of that.
Yes. Remember, folks, it's not just about stats.
Nope.
All right. Question from Instagram. If you haven't heard back after an interview from a school for 4 months, can you send an email and ask for an update? Ooh.
Yes. I've had students do it.
Yeah.
You can just say, hi, be very
Hello.
polite. I was so appreciative had to have the opportunity to interview in, I assume, September. And at the interview day, we were told we would hear back in 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and it's been about 4 months. I was just following up to ask if there's any information. Short, sweet,
Yeah.
simple, to the point, ask them a question. They're either going to answer you or ignore you. I doubt it's going to make anybody angry.
Yeah.
Um,
So don't email, yo, why you ghosting me?
What's up? Yeah, and honestly, I know there's a couple schools. There's one that is prominent in my mind that is notorious for ghosting post-interview.
Mm.
Um,
What school?
can I say it?
Yeah.
Kaiser. Kaiser's the
Really?
worst. The worst.
And they don't tell students during interview day that they're gonna be a while.
I have had 3 or 4 students interview at Kaiser and they've all been ghosted. Straight. I mean, at least when you get the interview, almost always you get some conclusion.
Yeah.
Kaiser just straight ghosts you.
Oh,
That's terrible.
Kaiser, let's talk. So yeah, send a question. I think the context is, what did they say, if anything, during the interview day? If they said, hey, we don't release anything until March, then no, don't send an update. Right. I think Georgetown, it's either GW or Georgetown, again, notoriously just waitlists everyone and then accepts everyone in March.
UCLA typically says we will go November and March. Boston, I think, is November and March, or December and March. I mean, a lot of schools do that, so you do have to know what they say.
Yep.
But if they give you a 4 to 6 week timeline, or a 4 to 8 week timeline, or something where reasonably you should have heard back,
yeah,
I think asking them is not terrible. Just be prepared for them to tell you got on a wait list.
Yep. Dinobots, around an hour until a big interview. What do you recommend people do in that final hour?
Take deep breaths, relax your mind, and go in strong.
I was gonna say meditate. Yeah. Just go relax. Go relax. Where did I pull that up? There is. Hold on. I'm gonna delay our conversation here for 1 second while I pull up. This is in my interview book. I gotta scroll down and find the page, and then I will share my screen.
But good luck on the interview while he's looking.
Yeah. Christine, I don't know if you have seen this in my book, but this is one of the last pages in the book, and it is a little motivation to everyone.
I love that.
There you go.
I try to always tell people that they would not invite you if they didn't like you.
Yeah.
You are meant to be there.
Yep. So you got this. Congrats. Good luck. Let us know next week how it goes.
Yep.
All right. Question from Instagram. Non-trad pre-med, ICU-RN. We got all the nurses hanging out with us today. ICU-RN to clinical research nurse. My volunteer hours as an EMT are from 5 years ago. Is it preferred to gain more volunteer work closer to the application cycle?
Oh, I have so many thoughts.
Yeah, Christine, I think this is one of the misconceptions, generally speaking, about clinical experience, that volunteer is better than being paid. Right. And so being a clinical research nurse, having been involved in clinical research for one of my kids, those nurses are interacting with patients. They're doing stuff. It's a different environment than an ICU.
Well, an ICU nurse, but I mean,
yeah,
still fantastic clinical.
Fantastic clinical, but they haven't been doing that for some time, right? Because they're doing the clinical research stuff now. But Does someone who is getting paid for their clinical need to go and volunteer for their clinical?
No. The first caveat I give with clinical is paid or volunteer, as long as it's engaging with patients and doing all those things that we talk about as it relates to clinical, doesn't matter. Volunteer hours, though, my thoughts, I'm Ryan, you can guess where my thoughts go. That's not the volunteer hours I stress over.
Yep.
You know, do you
What do
have
you stress over?
service?
Yeah.
The service aspect of it, the community service, the
Non-clinical.
non-clinical volunteering. If that's 5 years ago, that's more problematic to me than being an EMT from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So please pay attention to that. But
Yep.
good on you for doing I mean, these are great experiences. I have a student this cycle who did most of her clinical through clinical research, and she has like 3 or 4 acceptances to great schools. So
Yeah.
you never
Awesome.
know.
Good luck. Good luck. Does military service matter to medical school admissions committees?
Yes.
To the ones that care
Yes.
about it? Yeah.
No, can I expand on that?
Yeah.
I think military service, if there's leadership, there's teamwork, there's the general service that goes with being in the military. I have a student this year. She applied late, much later than my personal anxiety would have liked, but she applied late, and she has phenomenal interviews. Having done multiple mock interviews with her, her interviews are phenomenal because she has so much to draw on: ethical, leadership, teamwork. Her experiences are like, she and I had a conversation about the fact that she goes, I don't know what I would talk about if I didn't have the military. I'm like, I don't know either, to be honest, because holy moly. I mean,
Yeah.
she has so much to offer. I think, yes, be proud of your service, apply and watch, do your thing.
Do your thing. Love it. And thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Another question from Instagram. I'm wondering if you have any insight into Vanderbilt. My daughter interviewed and felt it went well, but her MCAT is in the lower end of their acceptances in the past. Are they really holistic? Christine,
But they offered
daughter
her
got
an
an interview. They got an interview.
She got an interview.
Yeah, she got an interview. They like her.
I will say they may have a conversation, and like, I don't know how Vanderbilt runs their committee conversations. Like, do they heavily pre-screen? So by the time you get to the interview, it's a really strong situation. I don't know how they determine all that, but I have certainly been trained from both of the schools that I went to that if they got to the point of the interview, somebody in the admissions committee, the leadership has said, okay, we can work with this MCAT, we can work with where they are, what's the rest of their stuff. And so she got an interview. I mean, they don't, Vanderbilt especially, they're not offering those things just because they feel bad for you. They liked what they saw in her application.
Yeah.
There's no pity in this at all.
Yep. Not at all. Would it be bad to make a hurricane cleanup opportunity from 2022 one of my most meaningful experiences? What was that reaction there?
The fact that by the time that you apply with that, it's 4 years ago.
Yeah.
That's my
Why?
only concern.
Yeah.
I feel like, I guess it's going to depend on what you say, but I'm generally looking for things that are somewhat current. And I think 4 years ago might raise some hackles a little bit. I guess the question to you, Trevor, is going to be, what about it was most meaningful to you, and really make it worth a 4-year experience, a 4-year-old experience.
Yeah. I'll be a dissenting voice. I can't tell you what's most meaningful to you in your life.
Fair.
When a student comes to me and says, here's my most meaningful, and it's like 15 hours, then I go, oh, wait a minute. How can 15 hours be most meaningful? So hurricane cleanup, I would want to know, like, how much time did you actually spend doing hurricane cleanup?
And why is
I'm
it
less
meaningful?
concerned about the timetable and more the duration of that. So, yeah. Good luck, Trevor. Aaron, coming from a non-trad background, BS in mechanical engineering, to doing full-time postbacc program, can I prioritize clinical experience over volunteering? ER tech full-time would be clinical experience. Again, I think there's
I need
this
the language changed.
confusion. Yeah, the language just needs to change. We need to stop using the term volunteering and just say, can I prioritize clinical experience over community service? And I would say, why can't
Nope.
you volunteer on the weekend once or twice a weekend every month? They're different and they show different aspects of the person. Now, if this question specifically was, can I prioritize my paid clinical experience over volunteer clinical experience? Heck yeah.
Yes.
Like, no problem there. But yeah, the community service is still important. Does it have to be full-time community service versus full-time ER tech work? No.
Can we get AMCAS to change the categories? I was thinking of the meeting we just had. Can we get AMCAS to change the categories to clinical work, paid work, or
Yeah.
clinical work,
Yeah.
non-clinical jobs, and community service?
Yeah.
That's it. I think that would eliminate half of these kinds of questions.
Yeah. There's just so much confusion around that language. We're trying our best. Here's an interesting question that I've always struggled with. Post it over here. I heard from a friend who's the dean of admissions. We can't offer students feedback on why they're rejected. And I wanted,
I've had that,
and
that conversation.
I was like, why? What do you mean you can't? That's just, and they're like, no, there's legal reasons and other stuff. And I kind of call BS on some of that. And I know we live in a very litigious world and we have mommies and daddies who are famous lawyers suing schools because their precious child didn't get in. But what's going on here? Why do schools not offer feedback?
So I think it's going to depend. I can tell you how we used to do it. When I was at UCI, we did offer feedback post rejection. But the number one factor for that is they could not be an active student in the cycle. Like the cycle has to have closed at that point. And the reason is we just didn't want to give anybody any advantages. So if the cycle was closed and you had gotten a rejection, we would give you feedback. But I also need to remind you that they may not actually have enough manpower, woman power, people power to do that.
Yep.
Because there are 8 to 10,000 of your people, you guys applying to, if we're lucky, a staff of 3 to 6. And when cycle A closes, cycle B has overlapped and already begun.
Mm-hmm.
And there just isn't enough time. And so we would do it in the fall. We would try to give a few appointments to people from the prior cycles and things like that. But we also had to limit how many appointments we had because there's no break. I know it's hard to believe, but there is no break in between cycles. There's a significant overlap.
Yeah.
So that would be my guess. Is part of it is they don't want to give anybody any undue benefits to that conversation. Why they don't do it outside of the cycle, I'm going to guess it's going to be people. They just don't. I mean, there's only so much bandwidth that they have.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's the best answer is just lack of bandwidth. Most of these admissions committees are a lot smaller than you think they are. And so, yeah,
there's
they're doing their best.
10,000 of you and half a dozen. And the admissions committee, I think people need to also understand the admissions committee is not full-time admissions people. The admissions committee, when I was on committee at Keck, that was less than a single digit percentage of my time. It was my Sunday afternoon out of the work week because that's when I had time to do it.
Yeah.
And they're clinicians and they're researchers. They come in and they interview and they vote on those special times. So the people who would give feedback are not the AdCom. It's my Irvine people when I was at Irvine, and we did that feedback. It's just,
Yeah.
there's not as many people as you think.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny when you were like, there's 10,000 of you and only a dozen of them. I'm like, I think of A Bug's Life and like all the ants would be like, we can stand up to Hopper and the other grasshoppers.
It's true.
If only we thought that way about the AAMC, go storming through their doors and
Right,
and
gosh.
tell them to change their categories, like get rid of this volunteer word. Yeah. All right. Dr. Gray, I was deeply inspired by your journey. It motivated me to pursue the path of becoming a military physician. However, both of my
Nice.
parents are quite opposed to the idea of me joining. Do you have any advice on how I might reassure or persuade them? I'm the wrong person to answer because my gut tells me they don't have control over your life. Yeah, which is the is the answer. And they just have to figure it out.
Why can you talk to them about why you want to join? What about that service is important to you? My middle brother, wanted to join the Marine Corps at 17 because he and I both graduated high school very early. So we neither one were 18 when we graduated. And so for him to join directly out of high school, my parents had to sign permission. And my dad was like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. You're too young. You need to go to college, all the things. And my brother laid an ultimatum down and my dad gave it, did it. But have you just talked to them about what about the journey that Dr. Gray had inspired you? And how do you envision that career for yourself? What do you feel that the military is going to give you as you become a physician? And have an adult conversation with them.
Yeah.
And don't lay an ultimatum down, but say, this is my pathway and I need to do it. But I want you to understand why.
Yep. Yeah. My way is less empathetic. Like, you're not the boss of me. I'm out of here. Right. And obviously
That was my
might
brother,
be
by the way.
financial ramifications and support still happening. So
That was my brother.
to navigate that. Yeah. I just started scribing. Harvard, here I come. Let's go.
Woo woo! I love
it. I'm supposed to hear back from my UC Irvine interview this week. Congrats.
I've heard they were very slow. They don't have a director of admissions, and so they have been very slow in getting back.
All right. Yeah. Good luck.
Zot zot.
How do AdComs usually view medical mission trips? I've been on the same mission trip twice now. We'll be third soon. And I've learned a lot from this experience. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff and feelings and opinions about medical mission trips, typically around the fact that sometimes students do stuff that they shouldn't be doing to patients on those trips. What are your thoughts here?
I think in line with what you're saying, I think as long as it's an appropriately sanctioned trip, Global Medical Brigades is one. Flying SAMs was always something that the UC schools did, where they would go down to Mexico on a weekend. They would do certain things to help the community. I think it's always going to depend on the narrative. And I usually tell students who think about doing whatever medical mission trip like that, internationally in particular, you don't put yourself in a position of doing something you're not supposed to do. Medical mission trips could also be like remote area medical, where you go to rural areas within the United States and do stuff. That would be fine too. I think it's going to be in the way that you talk about what is meaningful to you about these experiences. I would also argue, because I'm this person, this isn't going to be your only clinical experience. I hope that you've gotten other experiences along the way. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think if you have valid learning experiences and valid meaning to these experiences, especially as it relates to the social determinants of health and public health and global health, I don't think that's a bad thing, but you cannot put yourself in a bad position.
Yeah. Yep. We were just having a conversation kind of around this.
Yes, it would be crazy
to turn down 8 acceptances to DO schools to retake the MCAT and try to get into a DO school. I'm going to screenshot this question and send it to our friend that we were just talking to this morning. Yeah. Why is this crazy?
Why did you apply to DO schools to begin with? Do you want to be a doctor or do you want to be an MD? Because really, they're not that much different. The letters, the only two things that are really different about it. If you, and I do have this conversation again, if you are going to apply to a school and then at this point in the cycle say, well, what if I turn down all of these acceptances and do this? Then why did you do that in the beginning? What would be your purpose of going? I'm getting on my soapbox. I'm sorry. But what is your purpose of wanting to go to an MD school as opposed to taking one of these 8 acceptances? I can guarantee you I have 10 students who would love to be in your position right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be crazy personally.
Yeah. So they say totally fine with DO, just thinking about taking 2 boards and residency competitiveness, which is again the conversation we were having this morning. Number one, you don't have to take 2 boards. Not every DO student takes 2 boards. I don't know what the official data is, if there is official data on that. Yeah. And 75% of students change their mind in medical school in terms of what they want to do. And so that was, we had a conversation this morning with the vice president of undergraduate medical education, which is medical school, from ACOM. So the DO, all of the DO medical schools, this guy is the vice president of that process. He's a friend. So we had our team meeting and he joined us and we were talking about all of this and choosing to go to a DO school versus not based on your potential residency aspirations. Again, most students change their mind, and there is data out there of if you want to be a neurosurgeon, there are DO neurosurgeons. So why not you?
Well, and I think people, and I'm so glad you brought this up in that meeting this morning, Ryan, because I think people forget. And I hear this about top 20 schools. So, and that was what I was thinking about when you were showing these data. People, I get a lot of conversation about, I want to go to a top 20 school, blah, 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 blah. And I have always been of a mindset that your performance, what you do in your medical school journey, is going to make a bigger difference in where you land in residency than the school that you attend.
Mhm.
And so why are you not going to go to this DO program, kick it in its teeth, do what you got to do, be successful, take the 2 boards and get into your residency? What is going to prevent you from being successful? It's not going to be the fact that you're a DO versus an MD. It's going to be what you bring to the table.
Yeah, there was an interview I did. Let me see. Nee Darko, which is the best name ever.
That's their stage name.
Yeah, so Nee was on episode 196 of the Premed years. And he was also on episode 28 of Specialty Stories. So Nia's spent some time chatting with me. He was the first DO. He's a trauma surgeon. He was the first DO in his trauma surgery residency. He had a residency picked out. He's like, I want this program. And he went and did an away rotation, an audition rotation. And he showed them why they would be stupid to not match with him. In their program, he worked his butt off and showed why he is awesome and tried to say, like, the 2 letters after my name don't matter. You should pick me because I'm awesome. And that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Will DO
Okay.
schools ever replace COMLEX with USMLE plus OMM? Never say
That's
never,
a great
but
question.
probably never. I know that's something that people want. Unfortunately, there's too much money involved in the COMLEX to potentially get rid of it, and it's a different degree, it's a different accreditation body, so going to a different test is going to cause a lot of headaches. So I don't see that ever happening. I think that's all the time we have today. This time went fast. Still lots of great questions. Thanks for hanging out. We're here almost every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern answering your questions. If you want to schedule a consult with our team to learn about how we can help you with your medical school application, essay editing, interview prep, picking schools, all that kind of stuff, go over to medicalschoolhq.net and learn more about how we can help. Or check out all of our amazing free resources here on YouTube or Instagram or wherever. Podcasts, YouTube videos, all that good stuff. Christine, thanks for hanging out, sharing your wisdom.
Thanks.
Courtney, thanks for coming for a couple minutes before your internet wouldn't work. And everyone else, thanks for
Stay
showing up.
safe in your weather.
Great questions.
Yeah.
Everyone have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.